With that, I'd like to introduce our coordinator and event champion here tonight, Sherry Naleskovich. Thank you so much, Sherry.
All right. Thank you, and welcome everyone. I am so glad to see you all tonight. Our lives have become so much more connected, but this comes from our human nature and desire to share and collaborate and be creative together. But that can leave us open to people who want to steal those ideas or to steal the money that we earn through those ideas. And cybersecurity seeks to help protect our information, to protect those ideas. In order for cybersecurity to be successful at that, we have to somehow create that protection without hindering that need to collaborate and to share. And one way that we can innovate is to continue to have more and diverse people help come with new ideas. Often people think of cybersecurity as a highly technical field, which there are roles in cybersecurity which are very technical, but it is also have a wide range of roles. There's over 35 job categories that are technical, non-technical, and leadership-oriented that would open huge opportunities to women or any minority group to look as a way to enter this absolutely wonderful and fascinating field. So our panelists are going to explore all of these topic areas, and I would like to introduce our moderator, who I'm very excited. It's our own Robin Bienfait, and I hope you enjoy the evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, it's very nice to be here with you guys tonight, and we've got an exciting program in front of us. The best of all of this is you're going to hear from some people that have been living and breathing in this industry. I've been doing this for 30 years, and it never gets dull. It's always an exciting moment, and it's always a new day every day, and I'm pretty sure they would say the same thing. So let me introduce Kit. Why don't you raise your hand? And each one of them, as they're talking, will share their title and what they're doing so that you get a little bit more insight in their background, and you can also go take a look at their bio. We have Julie. Want to wave? I have Taryn and Marion. All right, so I wanted to get us started with some thought process. And I know I didn't go through their names and all their titles, but these women have a lot of expertise in this space. So I thought I'd start us with 2019. I guess you guys have heard about cyber incidents, and you hear about them on the radio all the time. As you look at the things that are in front of you on this slide, and I'll touch on a few of them, Facebook had a very large event. 540 million records lost and exposed. Your critical data, not sure exactly all the avenues of which that data went out, and they're still saying it's approximately 540 million records. When you get through each one of these, Capital One just had one recently, but First American Corp just had one a couple of days ago. 885 million records exposed. And when you think of records, we don't think of, what do you think of? You think, oh, okay, data went out. Your name, your address, your phone number, your social security number, all those things that you may have entrusted to that particular company. The one that I love the most is at the very bottom. It's called verifications.io. Anybody ever hear of them? No. They have everybody's email address because they are a verifications unit. Their servers sat outside in the internet with no protection. 2 billion records exposed. 2 billion. Now think, how many people are in North America or the Americas? About 1 billion. So there's 2 billion records exposed. So it's not about if, it's about when. And as you think about that, and you think about why you got into this space or into this role, what was it that drove you here? Any one of you want to pick that one up first?
Sure. My name is Mary Reed. I am the Senior Director of Global Security Operations Center for McKesson Corporation. We're a global pharmaceutical distribution medical supply company. So I've actually been in cybersecurity for 20 plus years. No problem. I've actually been in cybersecurity for 20 plus years. Actually was into product development, and through the HIPAA legislation is what really introduced me to security. Prior to HIPAA, healthcare really didn't have the idea of what security was, why was it important, what do we need to do with security, to today where we are. And as Robin stated, you know, it's not about if, it's about when you have a cybersecurity incident as a company. And so in my current role, my major role is to make sure that we're prepared to detect, and that if we detect anything, that we're prepared to respond. And that not only includes my team, but it includes our business units, and it includes our executives. So I had the opportunity last year to do an executive exercise, and it was phenomenal. You know, the more you get out there and the more you talk to people, and the more you talk to people within your company, it's everybody needs to understand security is everyone's job. It's not just mine as the director of security operations, but it's everybody's job to do the right thing and to make sure you're putting the protections in place.
And I find that a lot of us, when we first started our career, didn't really think that cybersecurity would be a place that we would get into. And maybe some of us did. Was any of you, that was the first thing that you thought that you wanted to get into and get involved in or get educated on?
I thought I wanted to be a teacher until I realized I had no patience for children or students. Then I was thinking logically, like maybe I should be a nurse and make good money. And I thought about the fact that you have to, you know, sometimes deal with blood and guts. And then I thought technology. And when you look at a woman, as a woman, when you look at technology, it's, I want to be creative. I want to bring something different. What is forever changing? And it's cybersecurity. I mean, for every day, there's a different way to attack information. Every day, there's a different way to compromise something. I mean, it's creative, and I feel like as a woman, you just bring something different to the table. So that's what really made me want cybersecurity.
So where are you working at now?
I work at IBM. I'm on the Global Data Application Security team.
Wow. How long have you been with those guys?
Just under a year now. Wow. I was there, and I was with the state office prior.
And how large is the team that you work with?
So I work with actually a kind of a small team, but we work with other teams, North America, Europe. So altogether, we're pretty large. IBM as a whole is almost at 400,000 employees, but our team is pretty awesome.
Excellent. And so when you're thinking about the space, not only the job that you've gotten into and where you are right now, how important is innovation in that creativity and growing this kind of role?
So I'll go ahead and I'll take that. Julie Talbot-Hubbard. So I'm the General Manager, Vice President of Digital Identity and Data Services at Optiv. Optiv is a security consulting organization. Prior to joining Optiv, I've led security roles and data officer roles at Symantec, the Ohio State University, and spent probably close to 15 years in financial services, always in cybersecurity or audit. So a lot of industry background, but from an innovation standpoint, and I think innovation can be several, I mean, I look at it can be process, it can be technology, but when you think about the importance of it today, I often say everyone's going through digital disruption. We talk about digital transformation that organizations are going through, but I call it digital disruption. Every industry that we have today is going through some kind of disruption, and if they're not innovating their own products or how they interact with their consumers, then they're not going to be around in the next generation or next era. But what that brings in is a lot of complex challenges that cybersecurity professionals have to solve for. When you think about just innovation, think about healthcare and all the connected devices out there and all the data that's being generated on patients. We give a lot of that data. We talked about Facebook, and I guarantee we all still use Facebook even though they had the data breach.
Exactly.
But from an innovation standpoint, that's something as the business or IT teams are innovating to really keep their customers and to grow their business, the security team has to be partnering with them alongside them, innovating on how you're going to secure, whether that be a device, technology, or that information. And if the security team doesn't, you usually are not the partner, and they're gonna move forward anyway on the business side and probably go so unprotected. So it's really important, I think, for that regard. But I also look at it from a hacker's perspective. I mean, if you think there's people they dedicate their life every day in other countries just to hacking and trying to infiltrate other organizations. And you think about AI, machine learning, all these techniques. Organizations are doing it now to drive efficiencies and to really innovate from a product perspective. But I guarantee you, the adversaries are doing the same thing when they're looking at how they're attacking your network. So I think from an innovation, one, I think it's more from how to protect your organization as they go through that digital disruption, but then also from just if you're trying to really protect yourself from adversarials out there, they're using those techniques. And so there's, in my mind, if there's doing more from a machine learning and AI, and they're automating their attacks on you, if you're not doing the same type of thing, we're not going to really be able to fight that.
And so when you got into your career, was it something that you were doing in your early days that just said, hey, I want to go down this path? Or was it something that just happened while you were at work one day, you thought, oh, I'm going to go do this?
So I started my career as an auditor, an external auditor for JP Chase. So more on the financial side, but got into IT controls. And it was actually right around 9/11 that I was in audit. And I look at 9/11 as a really critical event where I feel many organizations saw the impact of what a crisis could occur. And I went into crisis management, business resiliency at JP Morgan right after that to really start building out great resiliency plans for the organization. And what I found, I was there through the Northeast power outage where I think I was on crisis management calls for 4 or 5 days straight. And I swore to myself I will never do this again when I got out of that role. And then I kind of went back in it again. But what I enjoy about it and what's really kind of kept me in that field, and I've went out and taken roles in big data environments, leading data governance, and I always find myself getting back into security. And I think it's really that continuous challenge where it keeps you interested, it keeps you engaged, and if you're a problem solver, and I love to solve problems in unique ways, it's something that just really keeps me interested, and I also feel like I'm continuously growing. And the other piece I would say is from a communication standpoint and really getting the business engaged in those pieces, I do think that women were able to do that very well in an organization. Cybersecurity 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, everyone said it was an IT problem. I think that we have to, as professionals, have to find a way to educate the business and really get them engaged.
Thank you.
I would like to build on the whole innovation
please do.
part. Yeah, this is Kit Johnson. I'm a co-founder of a company called PrivOps, and we're involved in data governance and data privacy. Short story. But how I look at innovation, to build on yours, is the team that's developing the next plan of attack, the next innovation in the company needs to bring to the table all the people involved, not just the innovation team, bring the cybersecurity team involved. So it's not us against them, which I see happen time and time again. So launches are happening. There's the security part's not put in. We don't want to talk to security. They're going to mess us up. They're not going to let us do what we want to do. So bring them to the table at the beginning. And even in that way, to me, it's looking at diversity, because you're bringing folks from different perspectives of the organization to the table to develop the best product to launch out there. So you're going to have your security in place, you're going to have your innovation team, and everybody feels a part of it.
Well, there's a lot of people who think that the security organization, the best secure system, is one that's not connected. Well, we know that doesn't work.
No.
Right? But the best security that you're going to put into any development is one that's built in versus
Built in.
bolted on. And so
Absolutely.
you guys have a culture to build in?
Absolutely, because we're looking at, from our perspective in our company, is how to keep your data safe and in your control, and we want to give people the power for that. And so we want to give companies the ability to layer that into their system they're developing, where your developers can do what they want to do and have the freedom to do what they want to do. But also security is like, but I can put the guards on them to protect, and they use the tools I want them to use, and they don't know they're using the tools I want them to use because we already have this system in place. So that's my wish out there, that we can all have the power of our own data, and we know our data is safe. Because like I said,
Right.
attacks are going to happen.
So do you guys have any ethical hackers on your team?
Not at the moment.
Did you know that
I know. We had a wonderful conversation,
we have an
right?
ethical hacker here at the table?
But it's important because if
Do you want to tell us what an
Yeah.
ethical hacker does?
So, ethical hacking is, in my opinion, a form of innovation. So basically, security for so long has been more of a reactive type thing. And I mean, like she said, security and privacy by design. We're trying to be more proactive. So ethical hacking really is being that innovative kind of thought process and trying to think like the hackers would, or think like someone outside who's looking for something would. And we're doing penetration testing or trying to find loopholes or what's wrong before someone who's going to do it for bad purposes can do so.
So, just asking, does McKesson have ethical hackers on their team? Or do you know? Yeah.
So we titled them the Red Team.
Okay.
So yes, they will definitely do very similar. You know, but I'm listening to everybody. I think security's responsibility is to protect and it is to respond, but at the same time, it's to enable our business units.
Exactly.
And so as we go through technology innovation, it is our responsibility to help work side by side with the business unit and to enable them to really move forward.
So as we're looking at this through this lens, is there anything that when you were growing up in your role that you thought, okay, am I the only girl in the room or at the table? Did you have one of those moments, any of you?
I had the backwards because I started in healthcare.
Okay.
So, master's degree social worker in healthcare, working at Mayo Clinic, and you go to the conferences and it's all ladies. So, you know, but
Yeah.
now since I've switched roles and I'm taking those skills into the tech world, it's so surprising to me that oh wait, I'm one of 3 girls in this event. It's so backwards to me. But having conversations and having groups like this to give women feeling empowered to come out and have conversations and go for that job at the next level is so exciting.
Oh, that's wonderful. And are you guys encouraging that in your corporation?
Absolutely. You know, wherever I go, participating in this, having conversations with friends, posting on LinkedIn.
There you go.
So I'll just add, I think, you know, throughout my career, I've found myself many times the only woman either in meetings or, you know, in a board meeting. It could be at the currently where I'm at in the leadership team. So that's something I've ran across throughout my career. And, you know, one thing that, you know, I'm a huge supporter of women in my organization. I probably have about 40% of the team I have that are women. And I really, really strive to help them see their potential, because I think that's something that we as women, I think that we're all guilty of looking around the table, looking around and finding somebody similar to us and having that confidence to really believe in yourself and push yourself. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes I find myself maybe pushing the women in my organization a little bit further than maybe they would push themselves. But it's because I see their potential, and I think that that's something that you know, the confidence is a big thing, is to, you know, have that confidence in yourself to really step out there and really go after what you want to.
Mm-hmm. Well, as always, when I was growing up into this role, it wasn't the first thing on my mind, but it was one of those things that you're kind of curious at, how do you get into something? And oftentimes I found myself being the person asked, hey, Robin, we don't know how to get into this, or can you help us get into this? And you find out that you're quite clever on how to break into things. And that can be a good thing, yes. And sometimes it can be not so good thing. But I have a nice talent of being able to get around security a lot. And I have gone to many tables to sit down and say, I'm here, and I've gone through 5 layers of your security already, and you guys are missing this. And so it's kind of a funny thing that you're able to I'm not an ethical hacker. I just happen to be one of those people that don't realize I'm breaking through things to get something done. It's just I'm in a hurry.
And I gotta get it done.
And because I'm in that hurry, I've kind of plowed through something, and somebody's like, so how did you get in there? And how did you find that? And what are you doing with this? And, you know, I find that there's a lot of women that are quite clever in that way, and they don't realize that that balance of thinking is not like the bad guy, but in a way, finding those loopholes that allow you to get something done is very, very much fun for me.
Agreed.
So what is the funnest thing that you do every day in your job? Funnest thing. So mine, you know, I come in and I usually sit down somewhere when I'm working with the team, and they're waiting for the security guy to show up. And so I'll sit there for a little while, and then at some point in time, then I'll say a few words, and then we'll start getting into something. And then within a few minutes, we're just having a cybersecurity kind of conversation. So I was sharing, I was with the Federal Reserve Board this week in bank training. And mind you, I'm not a banker, but I'm on a bank board because I'm a cyber professional and a mobility professional. A technologist is kind of the way I see it. And I had to ask them a question. I said, you realize today is 9/11. And I said, and when I see all of the banks putting all of their data into a cloud, when do you guys as the Federal Reserve think about this as a perfect storm? And there was quiet. And they said, we're working on that. Okay, so not that I was reassured, but I'm hopeful that somebody really is working on that, because a lot of the banks don't attract the top cyber talent in the company, all your technologists. And there's a big shortage for cyber talent. Any of you guys feeling the pinch with being able to find or groom cyber talent, or even having cyber talent stolen from you?
Yes, I mean, we've had open positions for multiple months, and it's hard to find the experienced. I mean, there's a lot of resources out there that want to get into the field, and so we've got resources that we've trained up. We've done a lot with the colleges recently. Great talent coming out of the colleges, by the way. So
Super.
Kudos to the programs that they're developing. But yeah, it is very tough to pull those resources. And what you're finding is the competition. Companies that have good talent are doing a lot to hang on to that good talent right now.
Yeah, I made a joke with the Cyber Defense Command that's going out in Augusta, and I said, you're going to have to pay these people a lot more than you're planning on paying them. And they sort of looked at me, they'll want to do this for their country. I said, when somebody walks up and offers them double their salary, they'll wave and they'll stay in the country, but they're going to go off to do something else. So you're really going to have to think about your salary and your positioning, because people don't realize a good cyber professional in this role that really can do a vast number of things, or even in one specific area, is really worth their weight in gold in a corporation, and you'll want to hang on to them.
Well, that's where I think innovation's coming in too. So if you can use your money to get that talent, you can find other avenues of technology that are less expensive to give them tools to have less expensive people to manage your other organizations. Well, I digress. So we've been dealing with the Air Force a lot lately and talking to them, and they're struggling with trying to keep the right airmen to do innovation in technology and cybersecurity from the same standpoint of finances.
Exactly.
So they're trying to find ways to innovate to make it more interesting for them, and they're opening innovation, hubs to give them a place to exercise that creativity, because they want to serve their country, but they need to do that creativity part of the brain. So it's exciting to see that change.
They don't want to get stuck in that one role.
Don't want to get stuck in that one role.
And so we do see a lot of innovation in this space, and there's a lot of companies that have popped out of the corporation to start in this space. So here at the park, because we have a number of cyber companies, I'm also very paranoid. So I've put a capability in so that everybody is here. Once you're registered, your environment, yourself is cloaked, so we can't see you or see what you're doing on your desktop, so that nobody can peek into the code that you're working on. So I constantly am working in that space, but as you'll walk around here at the park, you'll see a number of cyber professionals that are here. It's nice to have you ladies with us. Did you think about what's the funnest thing that you've done on your job, or that you have fun at every day?
You know, I will tell you, for me, it's watching the analysts, you know, as they're looking at alerts and they're doing the investigation, and the things that they may or may not see, and just the enthusiasm in the teams. And then when we bring in college interns and have them work alongside the team, there's a lot of energy there. There's a lot of enthusiasm from the teams, and that is wonderful to see.
Yeah, I think the creativity of bringing people together in a room, working on a problem, is
Yes.
always a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I would just say, from my team, we're doing implementations, delivery all day long for our clients. And so to me, it's probably just the same thing, problem solving. But seeing groups of my team, whether it be they're in India, they're in the US, they're in the UK, but they're working together with our clients and customers to help solve a cybersecurity challenge. That's just exciting for me to be able to be a part of that, and also to be helping so many different customers across many different industries.
Yeah. As I continue to think about this space, it's not something that I decided to grow up in. I was actually in software and design, and I learned very early on the best design, the best DNA for any software platform is one that has security built in. So as you guys are working with some of your vendors, how do you guys think about third parties that come to the table? How do you vet them? Because they now are connected to your business. Mm-hmm. Are you doing things different with third parties to bring them, because now they're a partner running pieces of your business, having access to your data?
I'll take it. Totally. So we actually have a vendor management program that really looks at it from a cybersecurity perspective. So looking at what are we really doing with that vendor? How much of our data do they have? What's the interactions? You know, interesting, I participated in an event yesterday, and one of the key takeaways for the group there was to understand your data flow, not only within your own company, but when you come to third-party companies, and if they happen to have the cybersecurity incident, how does that impact you, and vice versa? If you have the cybersecurity incident, how does that impact your third parties, and what's your process for notifying them and them notifying you?
Yeah,
that becomes really critical.
It's what I call cyber hygiene.
Yes.
Yeah. So cyber hygiene is one of those little things in one of my past companies, not telling you which one, that we handed some material to a marketing agency. And I would say that we didn't hand it in what I would call the best way. We passed it over to them, but we gave them the whole package, not just the page that they needed. And some of their hygiene was not to clear away employees off the server when they either left or were fired. So one of the easiest ways back in to grab information is, right? Somebody having full access to the data through a third-party venue. And so do you guys have stories from your past that you might want to share, or you're not allowed? Everybody goes. So the reason I do this is I host every twice a year an unplugged event. So as cyber professionals can sit in a room and share stories that have happened or things that are happening recently. Because sometimes I believe if you have a group of people that are in this professional space and see a certain type of attack or signature coming across, share it.
Cybersecurity support group.
Exactly. We need a cybersecurity support group. I asked the Federal Reserve that yesterday too. I said, so when you're seeing something, are you calling us on the phone? And the answer is yes. So the good news is that there are some agency work in this space. But as a lot of companies are very scared to say anything because they're afraid of brand impact. I think a lot of people would understand, as you saw that chart up on the wall, billions of records. Your data is already out in the clear. And the best thing that you can do for any one of us is allow us as corporations to be transparent. But until we get rid of that fear, we're going to kind of hold or harbor some of those events. But now that I'm not encumbered with the corporation, I can kind of share some of those stories. But I don't see the new incidents that are happening. So any new trends on the incident wagon that you guys are aware of?
You know, if you look at some of the breaches that have occurred or some of the cybersecurity incidents that have occurred over the past year, you know, ransomware is one that we saw a couple of years ago, kind of died down. Now we're seeing an heightened impact of ransomware across a lot of corporations. Healthcare has been hit with ransomware a couple of times. You know, when you see those stories, go look at the details of it. Go look at what was the root cause. Why, you know, what control either failed or was missing that could have helped prevent. And a lot of it is users. You know, you've got to educate your users. And I take this very personally. You got to take it home. You can't, it's not just about your workplace, but you've also got to think about it from your own personal information, what your family is doing, what your family is accessing, now what your kids are accessing. You know, I was very fortunate, I think, when my kids were growing up, I didn't have to worry about this. Now I look at my grandchildren and I see the technology that they're using at very early ages, and it's scary if the parents are not security savvy. And so I say you got to, you know, people have to be security savvy today. You can't get around using technology.
I would add to that, I agree with you 100%. Even in college, they teach you it's the end user, biggest problem.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't realize the education that you need just in general to let people know exactly what's going on. It's huge. And on top of that, like I said earlier, a lot of companies, especially smaller, I understand maybe they don't have the money, or you need to realize it's about being proactive. A lot of these things happen because people don't know to be proactive. And when you have to be reactive, it costs about 10 times more, and then your brand is impacted.
Well, if you're one of those people that your password is password, or your password is 123456, you might as well just put yourself on a list.
Right.
But you would be amazed. I mean, red teaming, right, in organizations. I've always had red teams that go in and test this information.
Yes.
I was part of one organization I joined after they had a data breach, and that created their first CISO. And it was a data breach in a database. And they got in through a Cisco network device that had the password that came with the device.
They never changed it. It
They
was
never
just a
changed
boot
it.
device. Yeah.
And so even after that happened, all over the news, tons of brand reputational impact. 5 months later, I go in and I send the team around to start testing all the servers and testing everything to make sure we had changed our to complex passwords. And it was amazing. I mean, over probably half of the environment still had system passwords or their default passwords on these boxes. And I use this really as we would test them and then go have the report with the team and talk to them. And then the next day I started taking on managing not just security, but I also got to manage infrastructure.
So all of a sudden, identity management, privileged access, all of those things became fun. One of the companies that recently was ransomware, and I won't mention who they are, actually paid the ransom. And when they paid it in crypto, it actually sent them back a little survey to say how was the experience. and I thought that was hilarious. But the reason that popped back up, and I said, are you going to fill out the survey? I mean, how does that work? Because does that mean, it was a good experience, let's do this again? I don't think so. And it wasn't a lot of money. I'll put that in perspective. Any money that you're having to pay being ransomed is too much. But even in that space, I just thought, okay, they're getting creative on the backside. But you know what? It could be that these bots that are out there are using machine learning and AI, which we know that they are. And so it's not even maybe a human on the other side that's actually doing this. And so even in this case, when the crypto went through, it triggered a survey. So I just thought it was amusing, and so that was one of those fun moments that you're like, I can't believe that. Let's fill out the survey. And you see what they say. You know, maybe they'll come out and visit us or something.
Coupon or something.
Invite them over.
Next time. Coupon for next time. Half off.
But have you guys seen any of that at all? No.
But
Okay.
like
Well,
you're
that's
talking
good.
We're talking about end users. A friend of mine at the corporation he's at, they were testing how the employees were doing with phishing, and sent out hey, you've won tickets to blah, blah, blah. Well, they had a bunch of people clicking, won something. So they did the employee training. No, this is us. We sent this out to you. Do not click on this box. Training, training, more training. And it got down to there was a person, no matter how much training they did, every time that person would click on that box. And so they had to work on this person to say, at home, you cannot click on it here. If you got to click, you got to wait till you go home on your own home stuff. You cannot click on it here. So it's the end user. No matter, and this person was trained and trained.
Lowest denominator are
Lowest
people.
denominator. Like every time they'll click on it.
People will leave the door open.
They'll leave the door open.
Even to your security facility, you can have somebody walk up with boxes in their hands, and the security guard will run to the door to open it.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, unless this person has a badge, they're not supposed to come in. And now you've let them in the building. Yep. So there's certain things that come across as, you know, I'm a Southerner, so I'm always polite. However, there's certain times politeness is not part of the process. And you have to almost help design that process so that people don't feel like they're being harsh in a way. And so are there any processes that you guys have changed or modified in your corporations or in your groups so that people feel good about saying no or saying yes or not opening the door or not giving out the password?
Well, we do a lot of what you mentioned. I get phishing scams in my email all the time. Thank God I'm smart enough, but they'll have their little group, you know. We need to talk about training. And then they make us scan in and everything, so.
Have you guys ever tried to fish the fisher?
No.
All right, so I'll give you another example. So I went up to close on a mortgage up in Chicago. And the day before that, the mortgage company got hit with a phishing expedition. And I walk into this office to close on this piece of property. I had been at the Paris Air Show the week before, and I was getting all these emails, please send your closing money so they can escrow it. I said, well, they don't usually do that. And so when you see the email address from the mortgage company, they've gotten so clever that the mortgage company's email address was exact, except for the S at the very end of the name. So I thought, well, this is interesting. I'm just going to punch through on the phone number that's in that email. So I got this office that answered with the name of this mortgage company with an S on the end. And I said, is so-and-so there? And I'm asking for the CEO. And the woman who answered the phone said, no. I said, do you realize you're working for a false company? So we had a long conversation on the phone, and I said, do you realize that you are actually probably going to have the FBI showing up in a few days? So at some point in time, you might want to rethink the company you're working for. And so I hang up the phone, and I go back, we go to the mortgage company, and the president of the mortgage company is there, and a lawyer, and they're both looking, because the couple that was in before us to buy a property had just lost $125,000 to these scammers. And they had already called the FBI in. I said, well, here's your phone number that you want to use, because they had even redirected the phone number off the email. So even if you punch through, so mobility technology is wonderful. The hyperlinks are wonderful. But they had also, the phone number was correct for the office. So if you actually looked at it, it was correct. But when you actually punched through, it took you to a different office. Wow. So they're getting very, very, very tricky. And yeah, I find humor and fun in that. But I like to share the story, because you have to say to yourself sometimes, why would somebody send me this email? Why are they so desperate before the closing to get this? They will always, in a phishing expedition, play upon your need for emergency or instant, or it has to happen today, there's got to be some sort of pull. So I'm assuming all of you guys have taken that into your training as well.
Training, I'm just going to give a couple more examples that I've seen throughout my career, Robin. One, more from just a help desk, service desk. And it was big, large public institution. And they basically copied, our logo, everything. And they just said, your password's about to expire. Click on this or call this number. And they even had taken information from, like, we were updating our systems, we had project code names, and that was all in these emails they were mass distributing across campus, where individuals would call and give them their password, their credentials. So I've seen that. I think also what I see all the time is the Apple phishing the emails there. And it looks very much like an Apple email. And then you have all these charges that go through. So what they create, this is basically click on this link to report a problem. Well, of course, if you get these Apple emails, and I've got a son who's 9, so, I'm constantly trying to fight this off, right? That he's constantly trying to buy
training
apps.
at home.
Yes, but you get this receipt that says you charged $20, $29, click on it, and you've got to be the email looks exactly like it came from Apple, but you look at that email address, and there's 1 or 2 letters off. So, I think that we're seeing it in our home life, we're seeing it, at work, and even, I educate my parents a lot. Because they didn't grow up with, they all have mobile phones, we have everything now, they're on Facebook. But, they share information that maybe they shouldn't be sharing with the world on Facebook. So I think that there's education at home as well.
So as you guys continue to think about this space, why do you think diversity is important in this particular career field? I didn't grow up thinking, okay, this is only guys versus girls. I came up through Bell Labs. Bell Labs was about 50-50. So I never thought of it being, oh, this is only for guys versus girls. And as a woman growing up in technology, I just thought it was normal until I popped out of AT&T Bell Labs and discovered this isn't the norm. So diversity being in this space, why do you think it's important?
I think that's the most important thing you can have in this space at all, because not only because it's forever changing, but to have just so many different thoughts and ideas from different perspectives. You'll realize, and I don't mean to pick on the men, but it's always been a man's field. Some men have been there 30 years and they think technical. And just the other day, we had this problem we were trying to solve, and someone said, okay, let's come out with a chart, let's make it like a tree. If we start here, what other areas is going to branch off to, so we can see what else will be incorporated. And as a mother, I was like, how about we do it this way? And I was like thinking of my children at bedtime. So I said, let's look at it as a question perspective. I said, let's take the endpoints. Let's think of 5 questions that relate to each one. We'll make it quick yes or no questions, so it dulls it down for people who aren't as technical. And, it'll generate numbers, and it'll say 55% says that you have data security issues, 45% says that you need endpoint security. And he was like, wow, I didn't think of it like that. And it's the diversity that makes you think. So maybe diverse because you're a mother, diverse because you're from a different culture. If you're in X-Force Red and you're guessing passwords, which we do have password lists, and password 123 is on that list, so everybody knows. Different words or languages. Just that diversity in a field that's forever changing and is coming at you from every angle, every area in the world. It's really what's going to solve it and make it more preventative security than reactive.
Excellent.
Totally agree.
So I was going to just add on that. I think also we talked about just the lack and the shortage of resources in this space. So, that alone right there says that we really need to make sure that we are training and looking at all diversity across to really add to that talent pool. So that one. But I would also say to add on that, one thing that I've seen in my career too is women from a communication, collaboration, connectors. I just think naturally women are great at that. And in this field, across, you look at security, you look at all the different IT teams you deal with and the business, and your legal team, your privacy team, all those organizations. To be effective really in security, you've got to be able to communicate and bring those groups together. And I think women just do an outstanding job, and they bring just diverse opinions, diverse thoughts. I was involved in something today, and I see all these emails going back and forth, all of my peers, probably up to 35 emails. And finally, I just said, we're getting out of a meeting, this is what we're doing. And everybody joined, and we got it done in 20 minutes. But I think that, just probably more from my personality and what I bring to the table. So I do think women and diversity are critical for that reason, as well as the talent shortage to help us solve that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I would say to break down the women part even more, another diverse, just to look at a woman who might have her master's degree versus a woman who, is on their way to an associate's degree but runs every club at their school. Like when I started working, I mean, just the diversity of a fresh mind, a creative mind versus somebody who has all this technical talent. Don't short somebody just because they don't have their doctorate in cybersecurity. I mean, somebody might not even have a degree, but all they do at home is sit there and play hack the box all day. I mean, I would want that person on we have X-Force Red, sorry, on my ethical hacking team versus somebody who might be so technical but has no creativity because they're just book smart. So even breaking it down to that aspect of diversity, it's
bringing those fresh eyes and different perspectives to the table. Totally. And do each one of you guys have a program in place to make sure that you're bringing that diverse talent to the table? I mean, is there a dedicated effort towards that?
Like I said earlier, we're very engaged with colleges. I've got operations here in Atlanta, Scottsdale, and Cork, Ireland. And we are tapped into the local colleges, universities, and we're bringing some great talent in, fresh talent, through those avenues, and it's been wonderful.
All right.
So one of the things we think about, so we're a growing startup, and we're already looking ahead for our next hire and our next hire. And one of the things I am diligent about thinking about is who is the next person? Who do we want to bring in? We don't want to bring in the same type of person. We want to bring diversity in, someone with a different frame of mind, coming from a different angle, so we know we're asking the right questions. Because we want to ask all the questions. That's how you get to the right answer.
I'm super proud, especially as a large company that I work for. Like I said, almost 400,000 employees. We have a woman CEO. So of a large, huge company, we've implemented so many programs from, I started my job tech reentry. I took off a couple years to be a mother, and they have a program for people who stopped work and wanted to go back to work. They have programs just to hire large groups of women at a time. They have programs for students, obviously, internships. So I think the fact that a large company is doing that and setting an example, it's awesome.
That's wonderful. And how often do you guys participate in mentor programs also for women? Do each one of you have something that you give back to?
I know we have a mentor program within the company. So as we bring on the college hires or just new females, males, I mean, it goes across the board. So the mentoring program is really important. And I think the larger the company, the more important that mentoring program is, because you can really get lost.
I mean, through work, we have Cyber Day for girls, Cyber Day we have for Cyber Day for middle schoolers, Cyber Day for high schoolers. But I think just on our own, it's really important. Since I started in cybersecurity, even in college, the second you learn something, give back. The second you have an opportunity to participate in something, give back, especially knowing you're a woman and you can push other women to join, or knowing you're a minority, you can push other minorities to join. And I have never said no. So one of my teachers is here. We started WIT in our college, Women in Technology from the ground up. I've started and ran or was president of probably about 6 different clubs in our school, and it's because I want to give back. So I know when you work in technology and you start to see those nice paychecks, you're like, oh, I'm not getting paid for that. Like, I want my day off. But you really need to give back. I volunteer for everything, and it's awesome.
Yes. I think actually, though, women have a natural, their natural tendency to want to give back and to nurture other people to come up into the same career.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm going to do a rapid fire round. Is that okay? How are we for time?
7:39. Rapid fire round.
Can I do it? Have I still got time?
That sounds
Okay, if you
dangerous.
have one thing that you want somebody to remember from this session, what would it be? And I'll start down at the end.
Oh, goody.
Oh, you.
No, it's
Okay.
fine. For me, the whole part of diversity and bringing the culture together of people from different parts of the organization. Like I was saying earlier, that if you're going to develop a new app, tool, whatever it is you're going to launch out into the world, bring your cybersecurity team on board at the beginning so you can build the right one together at the beginning.
Excellent. Excellent.
So I'll just speak to, I guess, more of the women in security component. So just more some advice maybe on what I've learned in my career. I always look to hire and would just always tell everyone to be curious. If you're given an opportunity that you might see that, someone comes to you and says, hey, can you go and run infrastructure, go do this, go do that, and you might not believe in yourself enough to do it. I always think if somebody's believed in me, I should take the chance on myself as well. So always be curious, always have the confidence in yourself, know that everyone doesn't know all the answers. Everybody might think and act like they do, but typically they don't either. Everybody's taking a job for the first time somewhere. So that confidence is going to be really key too. Confidence and curiosity.
Excellent.
So I think two things. One is keep up with the latest technology. I mean, we're talking about innovation, and technology is here to stay. It's going to expand, lots of great opportunities out there, but be an enabler. Help the businesses use technology in a secure way to really better their business and grow it.
Excellent.
If I could summarize and say anything, it is keep an open mind. Be open to that person who just seems different. Be open to women. Be open to minorities. Be open as an employee to thinking differently, because everything is changing. You need help from every area and every type of person in every level of professionalism, whether it's, like I said, somebody with no education who sits at home, or somebody who knows to the T how many zeros and ones are in that binary code on whatever you just looked at. Like, you just keep an open mind and be open to never saying no. If somebody says, will you volunteer for this? Yes. Can you help me? Yes. Be a mentor.
So my last remark is, hey, Atlanta Tech Village is wonderful. I'm glad you guys are going to be doing something with them. They're friends of ours. Atlanta Tech Park next week is going to be doing the Cyber FinTech event, so hopefully you'll get to come out. And I'm so excited the way that we've rebranded. I love the rebranding with women driving innovation. And I think that's phenomenal because it's an active voice, and we're all about action. So thank you very much for being here this evening and joining us for this chat. Do we want questions and answers? We do. All right.
You have to repeat the question.
Oh, I will repeat the question if somebody has a question for anybody in the team. Anybody with a question? Oh, we got everybody's had too much wine. No questions. One question. All right.
So what resources do you suggest for people who are interested in exploring cybersecurity as a field, or who may just want to learn more themselves and how it may affect their everyday lives, become more aware?
So I'll start real quick with just, I think if you're interested in getting in the field or learning more, I think from a, like we talked about ISSA, ISACA, there's different security organizations out there with websites, with training, with information there. So if you're a self-learner, there's all kinds of boot camps online, those types of things. So depending on what route, I think that's a good route. The other one I would say is to find a mentor, find some individuals and really connect with them. Because I think that depending on what area, cybersecurity is pretty broad. And I think depending on what area you're interested in, that mentor could help you really zero in on what area interests you most and help guide you on some additional training or information there.
I would say 3 quick things. The first thing, yourself. No matter what you do, it is beneficial in cybersecurity because you might say, hey, I come from the medical field, I deal with patients. Okay, be a consultant. The second thing is join as many clubs as you can. You always learn information and find mentors. And then the third thing is YouTube.
Everything.
Yeah, you could probably be a professional hacker just watching YouTube videos.
Oh, that's, I guess that's an interesting way to learn. We had a question in the audience. As a consumer, what would you recommend us do?
For
Protecting ourselves.
For like with the password management.
I think password management with the biggest, and a lot of people, I have to tell you, you saw the list on the board of all the different breaches. The moment that happens, I go change my password to everything. I don't wait for that 35, 45 days or, hey,
Right.
there's something going on.
How do you remember all your passwords?
Oh, so I have a little trick. I don't write them down. So I have a little trick in my head that I play with a particular word and a particular year or date, and I will swap the characters. And so if you can do something like that, and when I say swap characters, the characters have other random, figures and stuff in it. So I keep it very long, and it may actually have a little statement to it, but I vary it. And I don't share it. What do you guys think about, I try not to speak about somebody's product when I'm online. So the only reason I don't do that is I got in trouble one time by doing that. So, just in general, would you use a password keeper?
Yes. Yes.
There you go.
I think, and especially when you are trying to be not have the same password with all of your accounts, you want to, you want to make them different. A password keeper type product or something similar. There's several of them out there.
Yes.
And I think they're great. Let me go back to the previous question.
Would you freeze your Social Security number on the 3 credit agencies?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I would. But also,
I have.
one of the best security methods that you can use is to have two-factor authentication enabled. And it's
Yes.
easy to do as a consumer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Having 2-factor is very important in the consumer space. Yes, another question from the back. Shout. So most of us have mobile phones, and we use our mobile number, and that mobile number is also being hacked now. So what do you recommend in that case?
If it's something super sensitive, there are other things. There's devices. I have a key that you plug in. It looks like a thumb drive, and it actually scans my fingerprint. It's worth putting the extra money into certain things that have fingerprint readers, different types of whatever you feel is comfortable and necessary. Obviously, you want to keep more eye on a work computer. Your home computer is pretty important too, actually. I use my little thumb thing for that. But, and to get back to the earlier question, I do use certain ones, the password vaults and stuff, but a big thing is end user habits. So make sure you're locking your computer when you walk away, make sure that password is forever being changed, the master password to those. So everything is as safe as you keep it.
Yes. Any other questions for the group? If not, I'd love to give them a round of applause and thank them for their time. So hopefully you'll continue watching us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Were these ladies fabulous or what? So did we learn anything about cybersecurity? What would be the number one thing that your takeaway is tonight? YouTube. Okay, number one takeaway from tonight.
She said YouTube, but I don't
No. Yeah. Start protecting your being. Your
identity.
Your
You wanna
identity.
protect your identity. You want to think about where you're doing your mobile banking. You want to think about what machine you're using to do that mobile banking. You want to think about your passwords all the time. Keep alert to the news. When you see something happening in the news and 2 billion records are missing, you know you're part of them. So don't think, oh, it hasn't happened to me yet. Let's keep it from ever happening to you.
But it will. It will happen. Just not tonight.
So just to recap on the password keeper, you're saying that's a good idea, right?
If you need one, yes.
And what about the thumb? You're saying have a thumb with your passwords on it?
Well, I think any biometric, so I mean,
Yeah,
that just adds
there's
another.
iris
And don't
readers.
necessarily, so I can go into Google and I can click on, on my browser, whatever browser, and I can click on settings and I can go to security and it will show me all my websites and all my passwords.
No.
It does. It does, because I have a keeper on
auto-save.
that.
Laptop.
Right.
Those auto.
Right. So that worries me. It's so convenient for me, but I don't know that it's all that safe.
Yeah, that's why I said the
No one.
endpoint. The endpoint, like how you treat it, making sure you lock your computer when you walk away, and all that stuff. That's super important, especially if you have something like that.
You've got the endpoint protected.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you haven't bought a new router in 2 years, buy a new router. If you have IoT devices, buy a new router. If you're having problems with your computer or your IoT devices, buy a new router. Right, Caroline? All right, yay! Okay, so thank you for joining us. Our next event is gonna be at the Yacht Agency in Marietta. I know it's like a minute from here, but we hope you'll join us. It's supposed to be a VR amazing experience. The third Thursday of October, which is what date?
Village. That's it. Yeah, right. So next week we have Atlanta Tech Village. You see this up on the overhead in front of you, and that is deploying end-to-end IoT solutions. And you're welcome to ask them about the new router. And and then in October, we'll be at Yacht Agency. So they have a great space. They wanted to offer us demos, and you can actually put on the headsets and have your own experience while you're there. And it wasn't something we could bring here. So we are going to Yacht Agency. I do hope that you'll join us. The address is easy to find, but look at our website and register and come on out.
Okay, and thank you, ladies. Oh my gosh, should we bow to them? No. Amazing. No. Truly amazing. Thank you so much for spending your evening with us. We hope that y'all learned a lot. We hope that you'll bring your friends and coworkers and fabulous females or men. We are opening it up to men. So we want to bring in men, but really the heart of our organization is about empowering women. So thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you, Atlanta Tech Park, Robin Bianfe. Yeah, the cybersecurity event, do you have that up there? We can put that back. If you didn't get a card with the discount code for Robin's, it's a 2-day event. Could you tell them about it?
Yeah, it starts on the 17th in the evening. That's when our registration is with a VIP reception. Right before that, for those that want to join an AI design thinking course, one of my security professionals that worked with me at one of my previous jobs is coming down to talk about AI design thinking. And you've got to think about that from two perspectives, the ethical person and the unethical person. So if you're designing in the AI space, you need to understand what might be happening in that other domain. So if you want to register for the course, it's a couple of hours, and then you can wander over to the reception. We have InterSystems here that evening on the 17th with a VIP reception. We're doing that so the 300 plus people that will be coming to the event the next day can get their passes and all that type of stuff in a very nice, fashion and formal way, but not standing outside waiting to try to get in the building the next morning. The 18th from 8:30 till about 5, and then a reception in the evening. We have 3 round tables. One is on the fintech environment, one is on cyber, and the other one is on blockchain. And then I coach a cyber team in Nashville. They have a new innovation that inoculates data so that data can move around in a secure fashion and report on itself, so it's live. And in that case, they have pitched a cyber challenge, and we will have people who have coded against this capability will be here pitching their new idea in front of a group of judges, and they will win a $10,000 prize. So come and watch the pitch event as well. So it's going to be lots of fun.
Thank you so much. And before we leave, ladies, by the way, I am not the, Robin, you said one ethical, one unethical. I just want to clear that up. That is not me. Sherry, would you please take a bow? Yes. And thank you so much for putting this together. Night.